All right, let's start here. ANC members are preparing to gather in central Johannesburg this afternoon to pay tribute to the late Deputy Secretary General Jessie Duarte. Duarte was laid to rest at the West Park Cemetery over the weekend after passing away from cancer. Let's take you live now to the Johannesburg City Hall, where Duarte's memorial service will take place. That's where we'll find my colleague, senior reporter Aviwe Mtila in the hall. Aviwe, I see preparations still underway. Have you spotted any of the leadership of the ANC so far?
Mseko, it's the final preparations here for that memorial service that is supposed to kick off at 2 o'clock. The African National Congress bidding farewell to its Deputy Secretary General, Jessie Duarte. That, of course, expected to be underway at 2 o'clock, as we've seen many messages of condolences over the week since the passing of the DSG in the early hours of Sunday morning. We do understand then, of course, from that Sunday morning, it was declared that it will be a national week of mourning with different provinces expected to hold their own memorial services of the DSG. You understand that kicking off in Mpumalanga yesterday. We're expecting a few more, even in the Free State and the Western Cape, those memorial services. We haven't seen many of the leadership come in as yet. We were ourselves expected to speak to some of them, but we haven't as yet. But of course, you'd remember that the DSG has been saving in the liberation struggle from the age of 15 years till she passed away, of course, still serving in government structures at the age of 68. So she'll be remembered here, as we do understand that the Deputy President David Mabuza will be delivering that eulogy, as well as tributes even coming in from the former President Thabo Mbeki, one of those that will be the speakers here officially. But we're expecting many of the ANC structures, right from even the varsity structures in SASCO, the ANC Youth League structures, and even also the other tri-apartheid alliance structures, to be part of those that will be bidding farewell to the DSG. Jessie Duarte held that position of the DSG, we understand, since that Mangaung conference back in 2012, re-elected back again in 2017. We've been hearing those messages of condolences coming in from even Uma Baleka Mbete, who described her and her totem as being that of a selfless person who was a unifier. We heard from the President Cyril Ramaphosa, one of those that tried, even though we see an ANC that's currently divided, that tried to hold that unity. So we're expecting then that final national send-off and farewell to be given to the DSG, Jessie Duarte, from around 2 p.m. today.
And Aviwe, exactly who are we expecting to speak there today?
So we'll be having a myriad of speakers throughout the day, starting from 2 p.m. But that eulogy expected to be delivered by the Deputy President David Mabuza. But of course, also a tribute coming in from former President Thabo Mbeki. We also saw the convener of the ANC Youth League, also part of the program that will be delivering those speeches. But there have been many messages coming in from far and wide, Maseko, given that this was a woman that joined those political ranks in the early 70s, also influenced by the black consciousness movement, we do understand, worked closely with late struggle stalwarts such as Ma Albertina Sisulu, who held her hand and basically taught her the ropes as she went in, even we understand, in the leadership. Top structures of the ANC from 1997, serving in the NEC of the ANC. One of arguably the most powerful women at the ANC, till she fell, of course, succumbing to cancer, we do understand, early hours of Sunday. There have been messages that have been coming in that says that she, even in her last days, Maseko, was still very active, speaking to the ANC structures and some of those cadres on the ground. There are messages that people are speaking of that have been sent in terms of the current shenanigans that have been happening in the country, and her views, her strong views. Some of those leaders saying that in time they'll be giving off those final messages and views that she was sharing just on what's happening currently in the country. But of course, we're expecting that program to be underway here at around 2 p.m. I remember even speaking to the Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, who described that strong courage, a woman that really advocated for women's rights, especially just for one South Africa, saying that she hated the term called coloured and said that South Africans should be just seen in a broader context of being South Africans rather than being segregated in terms of their colour base. That's the kind of woman that will be celebrated here as we edge closer then to the start of this national memorial service commemorating and remembering the life of Jessie Duarte.
And Aviwe, I mean, I'm sure the ANC is going to miss a character like Jessie Duarte, who even in the face of corruption leveled against the organization, she still stood tall, defending the ANC until the end, even during last year's local government elections, speaking for the ANC, even while they were performing so dismally. So this is a character, of course, that the ANC would definitely miss, even though what she was saying could have become a bit more deaf to South Africans.
Maseko, you remind me of even the conferences or the media briefings that time and again we had at Luthuli House, where she'll be firmly defending the ANC against, of course, you'd understand, the media questions that were quite pointed towards the shenanigans happening at the governing party. You remind me also some of the sentiments shared by Bulemabe just earlier on in the week. Remember going into that 2017 Nazareth conference, there were those different factions and slates, and heading to that conference, Bulemabe was supporting Mankosazana Dlamini Zuma, but after that conference, he was then elected as a spokesperson of the African National Congress. She said that at one point, Jessie Duarte put him aside and spoke to him and told him, now you represent the party in its entirety. You don't represent a certain faction of the party. The message that you bring across now will be a united message for the party itself, not for whatever faction that you come from. It's a position that she's quite familiar with, that of being the national spokesperson, given that she once herself was the national spokesperson of the African National Congress as she grew up in the different ranks. Remember, she was also the High Commissioner to Mozambique at one point, so we're expecting even diplomats to be part of those that be celebrating the life of Jessie Duarte here. A very uniting figure in the African National Congress, never mind whatever beliefs that she had, but the message of the ANC is the one that should take forward, Maseko, as that person that really even stood firm, I beg your pardon, for women's rights and advocated really just for women in general. So she'll be remembered here at the Johannesburg City Hall, and we're expecting that program to be underway from 2 p.m. today.
Aviwe, I just want you and I to also have a chat about the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, who was serving in that position the second time in a row. You know, I don't know what type of interaction you had with her. Maybe we can also try and do some remembrance of her while you and I talk, because we also dealt with Jessie Duarte quite a bit as the media. And, you know, I remember specifically with me during the elections last year, she was quite feisty in trying to protect the ANC, going as far as saying that eNCA has gone against the ANC quite a lot. We've wakened them up, etc. So she was quite a feisty woman. A 3-minute live crossing to Thulasizwe Simelane, I remember, Aviwe, became about a 15-minute crossing because she wouldn't let down and I wouldn't let down as well. So just tell me, you know, some of your interactions as senior reporter with Jessie Duarte.
You hit the nail right in the head, Maseko, when you describe her as being one of those feisty ANC leaders. She wouldn't back down, Maseko, in the number of interactions that I myself have had with Jessie Duarte at Luthuli House. One of those that really stood firm for the party line, really told the party line. In fact, I want to share some of these sentiments with the newly elected regional secretary of the Johannesburg region in Gauteng. Mdomkulu, thank you for joining us at eNCA. But as we edge closer to the memorial service itself, I want just your reflection and your personal interactions with Jessie Duarte.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. Today it's a very important day for the African National Congress, where we will be paying our farewell with the Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Jessie Duarte. It's a day in which we are paying a tribute to our veteran. She was our veteran, a veteran who have been in struggle at an early ages, a veteran that has played a very critical role in uniting the African people during the dark days of apartheid, where she led even the women movement, like your Federation of the Transvaal Women as the provincial secretary. She played a very critical role in the UDF, especially when it was established. She was part of those collective that have been part of that establishment of the UDF at a younger age. She played a very critical role even in, coming re-establishing the women structures in the country when after the unbanning. She worked very closely with the former president Tata Madiba and also Walter Sisulu. She was even their PA during the early days when we were going towards democratic South Africa. She was the first MEC of safety and security in Gauteng in the first cabinet. She led in our provincial executive committee of the ANC. So you are talking about a leader that have demonstrated the kind of the organization that we want to build when we say a renewed ANC that is led by leaders of high moral standard in society, a leader who was never surrounded by controversies. We did not have to go up and down as an organization to seek to want to defend her for her conduct. That is the kind of a leader today we will be honoring as the African National Congress.
What will you take out? I mean, she's been described as a unifying figure. No matter what particular faction she served, she'd come out of whatever conference supporting the decision of the ANC. What can then the ANC, maybe in your region and nationally, take away from such stalwarts as Jessie Duarte?
In fact, all of us must learn from herself, because you will remember that out of Nazareth conference, she might have entered coming from a different slate from some of the people that she led with. But when she got into that office, she forgotten how she entered, because she believed that the delegates and structures of the African National Congress have given her a responsibility to unite the organization. So all of us that have been elected in different positions, you will have seen in Johannesburg, same thing happened. We were elected from mixed slates. In the provincial conference, same thing happened. So we must learn from herself and now be leaders of the ANC, not leaders of our particular factions. Our preoccupation, it must be how best do we unite the ANC, how do we renew the ANC so that the ANC renewal process must translate into a better life of the people of South Africa. How do we ensure that we change the lives of our people? Because the more we still stuck on how we were elected, we are going to focus on fighting amongst ourselves and forget about our fundamental role of ensuring that we unite society and we build a better society, each and every family to have a bread on the table. And it will be through a united ANC that we can be able to deliver to our people. The reason why we can't fully deliver as we committed to our people is because we are more focused to ourselves. How do I defend myself from the other faction than how best do I make the lives of the people better, which is the primary objective of the ANC, to deliver a better life for our people.
All right, thank you very much. Some of the sentiments coming in there from the recently elected Secretary of the Johannesburg region in the ANC, saying that a united ANC would serve better, of course, in providing a better life for the society broadly. A very important lesson, Maseko, given all the happenings around our current society, the disgruntlement with the people on the ground that's playing out in the many protests that we've been seeing on a daily basis now, Maseko. So maybe one of the biggest lessons that the ANC can take from Jessie Duarte is the unifying factor that she's been described as being.
All right, Aviwe Mtila at the Johannesburg City Hall in preparation, of course, for that memorial service for the ANC's Deputy Secretary General, Jessie Duarte.